fun to talk about.
It is fun to talk about. It's hard to know what's true. But why people genuinely love it when someone like Diddy gets caught, though. The glee that people have is weird.
Why?
Because he's too successful. If what's happening is too fucked up for Luke from 2 Live Crew, like, check please. There's so many different stories. Who knows?
Because it was just too much. It was too
crazy.
many. It was too crazy. People were gonna think that I was just lying. It had like a lot of people involved, celebrities and stuff. So I was trying to be real vague about it, but that party traumatized me.
It's 2020, y'all, and it's different than when it was 2016. You know, the game has been elevated. As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire.
More deeply disturbing details of what really went on at Diddy's alleged freak-off parties have been released. And let me tell you guys, Diddy is a sick dude with a lot of weird fetishes. From wanting people at his parties to wear Harold Juku dresses to having people only wear white shoes before entering his parties. Diddy was into some weird stuff. And did I mention that his sons were also allegedly part of the freak-off too? You'll grab your seats as we look into some of the most disturbing allegations yet about what really happened at these freak-offs.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me.
Now, it wasn't that long ago that being invited to a Diddy party was a status symbol in Hollywood. I mean, whenever Diddy hosted a party, it always included big names like Justin Bieber, Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton, or even Jennifer Lopez. Everyone in Hollywood wanted to be part of a Diddy party. The Kardashians used to brag on their show how amazing Diddy parties were.
I know you're known for the parties. When you think of a party or a good time, you think of Puff. You do. But we've been known to party with you a few times. What are, like, I don't know, some of you were just at Puff's birthday. Yes.
Yes.
I forgot about that. You forgot about that? No.
Well, Courtney, you might not remember the parties because apparently there were things in those drinks that made people forget.
Y'all Diddy parties were so huge that Jay-Z and Beyonce even released new music at his events.
You know how Jay-Z had the album 444? Why is he obsessed with the number 4?
I don't know. I don't know what that represents.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Beyonce, born on what day? The 4th.
Oh, shit.
Jay-Z, born on what day? The 4th. P. Diddy, born on what day? No. The 4th. 444, because they're all together, bro. That's their thing. Yo.
But now, ever since Diddy got arrested and the truth about what really went down at his freakouts started coming out, nobody wants their name associated with Diddy or his parties because the alleged stories of what went down are pretty damaging for everyone who was there. And with this recent wave of new information, it's about to get even worse.
Guess where we're going tonight? I'm like, where? He's like, to P. Diddy's house. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, that's crazy because I hear a lot about P. Diddy, and I'm like, his house for what? Like, to go sing? He's like, no, he's throwing this wild party, da-da-da. I'm like, oh, okay.
You see, Tania, a person who used to attend Diddy's freak-offs, we haven't even heard the worst of what Diddy did. While speaking to Soft White Underbelly, Tania recounted her experience at a freak-off and all the bizarre things she claimed to see. According to Tania, secrecy was a big deal for Diddy at this party, and he did not joke about it. I mean, this freak-off allegedly took place for years, so it seems like Diddy went to great lengths to keep everything quiet. Tania alleged that security at Diddy parties was extremely tight, and that you couldn't just stumble into a Diddy party by mistake. People were made to hand over their phones and electronics at the entrance, and security sealed them in bubble cases so that Noon could take a photo or video of what went down. It seemed like only Diddy was allowed to do that.
So we get there, and that's when stuff got weird. And that's why they lock up our phones, because they know what we see in there, you know, it's he can get in trouble, like right now. So basically, we arrived, security guard patted us down. They put our phone in this little bubble case. So the bubble case is closed. They can't get unlocked until we walk out. So as we're in there, the only way of us taking any type of pictures is if we get in the photo booth. He has like a Team Love photo booth or whatever, take like 4 pictures. So I, got pictures. I still got everything in my Snap too, like of the photos, everything.
Now, according to Tania, it seems like there were different sections at Diddy's parties, and people couldn't just walk to wherever they liked after they got into the party. Tania claimed that during her time at a freak-off party, once she got inside, she got approached by one of Diddy's sons, who was going around and choosing people to invite into the main house where the freak-offs were allegedly taking place. Diddy's sons were allegedly very thorough, not just allowing just anybody into the freaky part of the freak-offs, but once a person got selected, they were a pair of white shoes, which was the sign to mean that they were allowed to participate in the alleged freak-offs. But the story doesn't end there. According to Tania, those freak-offs were wild. Once a person got into the section of the house where the alleged parties took place, it was chaotic. The lights were dim and the music was blasting, making it extremely difficult to hear anybody or sometimes even see people. The freak-offs were full of waitresses who passed around drinks constantly to people who were almost always walking around nude. However, not everyone was naked. It seems like Diddy had a thing for Harold Juku dolls, so he has people dressed like Harold Juku dolls, complete with red lipstick. And it seems like Diddy allegedly loved it. And if you think that this was late at night, you would be mistakenly wrong. When Tania allegedly saw these people dressed as dolls, it was apparently 7 o'clock in the morning. Diddy also allegedly loved surrounding himself with IG models at these parties. Now, this is far from the most bizarre things that took place at a Diddy party. In a recent exclusive interview with the New York Post, a former staffer who was hired to work at one of Diddy's parties shared some pretty jaw-dropping details. Apparently, Diddy had a list of strict, non-negotiable rules for his events, and these requirements, according to the source, were enforced with serious precision. One of the most controversial rules? A strict guest policy that focused heavily on who was allowed in, especially when it came to women. The source revealed that Diddy allegedly set a rule that no female guest over £140 could enter the party. And get this, he was so insistent on this standard that he even had a party planner stationed at the door with a weighing scale, ensuring everyone fit his criteria. The planner reportedly admitted to the Post that she'd keep a scale in her car at all times, just in case. We would do a weigh-in if necessary. The girls had to be young and hot, so I always had a scale nearby in case I needed to make sure. The number was £140, but if a girl was really tall, there was a little bit of discretion involved. And get this, Diddy also allegedly had a rule that no females attending his parties were to be allowed in if they had any flabs or cellulite. Diddy wanted people, especially women, who fit a certain type of image in his head, and he wouldn't settle for anything else. The Post also reported that women who were overly tattooed and had too many piercings were also not allowed into these freak-offs, but the requirements don't stop there. You'll know girls with short hair were to be allowed in, and when Diddy entered these infamous parties, all he wanted to see were young, hot women. Now, how young, you might ask? Well, when it comes to Diddy, you know the answer to this question. Allegedly, Diddy had a don't ask, don't tell policy at his parties. If the girl was judged to be hot enough, she was allowed to enter despite her age. It was don't ask, don't tell. At the time, I was really young myself, and I honestly thought that we weren't asking their age because of drinking laws. I never stayed around for the freak-offs and had no idea that these girls were expected to have with people. Now, according to another source who worked at his parties back in 2004 and 2005, Diddy apparently had a whole checklist for what women had to look like before they even made it through the door. And get this, ID checks? Nope, he didn't care about that, but everything else? Oh, he was serious about it. Word is, Diddy's events had a strict dress code for the ladies. No pants, no jeans, and absolutely no flat shoes. The only thing women could wear were tiny party dresses. Think barely covering the essentials and stopping mid-thigh. And he didn't stop there. Apparently, every girl had to be in high stilettos and show some chest. No exceptions. Like if you see pics from one of his parties and all the girls look like they just came out of a runway show, well, now you know why. And if that isn't enough, the source spilt about a dancer who got $250 to perform at one of Diddy's after parties. But then things took a twist. She was offered an extra $1,000 to go to one of his freak-offs. Can you imagine imagine she got so freaked out she turned it down? And here's where things get even wilder. The Post also managed to get some tea straight from a couple of male escorts who worked at these infamous freak-offs, and let's just say they did not hold back. According to the source, when Diddy hired these male escorts, there was one strict rule. They had to be ready to perform anytime, anywhere. And if, for any reason, one of them couldn't keep up, they were immediately thrown out of the party and, get this, weren't even paid for the time they'd already worked. Can you believe it? It gets crazier, because to make sure they could keep up with these non-stop demands, escorts were encouraged to take Viagra and Cialis before heading in. It was literally survival of the fittest at these parties. But here is where you get the picture of just how Diddy was into some weird stuff. According to a former party planner, Diddy spared no expense in setting up his notorious freak-off parties, and it was pure decadence from start to finish. We're talking hundreds of mirrors, yes, mirrors, strategically placed on the walls and ceiling, just so Diddy could have a panoramic view of all the steamy chaos going on around him. And these parties, they were nothing short of extravagant, reportedly costing about $500,000 each. Imagine this: extravagant food, the finest alcohol, stunning dancers, acrobats, even live animals sometimes. These events had everything you'd expect at a lavish Hollywood bash, but then they took a sharp turn into NSFW territory after the mainstream part of the evening wrapped up. And just in case you were wondering, days after each party, all the mirrors would disappear and the mansion would go back to looking like nothing had happened. Talk about a Hollywood cover-up. The party planner herself said that while she handled the mainstream elements like decor and food, the guest list and extra details were definitely not in her control. But here's the kicker. When it came to budget, Diddy's only question was, is it going to be a great party? If the answer was yes, he would sign off, no questions asked. Anyways, what do you all think about all the shocking revelations that have come out so far? And why do you think Diddy was able to keep all of these things so quiet for this long? Let me know your opinions in the comments, but don't go anywhere because I have more shocking news about Diddy.